More so towards Wes. And
all right, we're live. First of all, thank you so much, Mr. Ashley, for coming on the show with us tonight. We know that you've been busy all week answering a million questions about this tournament. I guess the first question that I would have for you is, what kind of line was on the reel that hit that the Blue Marlin hit?
We had 80-pound mono and 80-pound braid.
And how much line did that thing peel off? I'm sure it got down into the backing.
Oh yes. Matter of fact, it had us, kind of concerned there a couple times that we, with our inReach, reached out to Matt at Chasing Tails. Definitely want to give him a shout out at Atlantic Beach. He does all our rigging as far as our spooling, and we were texting him, how much did you put on here, to kind of get a gauge on how much had run out. And he had put basically 200 yards of top shot at about 225 of backing. So we saw them a couple times and kind of we started backing down on him to gain something back.
And can you explain that feeling? Because I know, I was out there and I heard it go off, hooked up. I can't remember the exact time. It was right after 2 or, an hour before the tournament ends. I mean, what's going through your mind?
We had called about 2 o'clock. Side up and teasers. It was honestly a set hit, and the way it was running out, and by the time we got everything in, it was starting to pull them in, and ended up being like about a 30-pound barracuda. And so we were kind of, highs and lows, and then Greg says, well, let's put them back out and head out to the deep one last time. And we got everything out. We turned around. We're heading out to the deep. And I was sitting up on the bridge with a beanbag. And next thing I know, I see this big marlin breach kind of left to right, looking backwards at the plugs, and crashes on our right short. And same rod that the barracuda hit. And it was a black and red and white black bark was the plug, and he tore off like a moose. I mean, we knew exactly what it was. And Greg called it in. I was up there reeling in the shotgun and the flat line and the teasers, and the rest of the guys kind of sprung into action and reeled everything else in, and we settled in for the fight. So I mean, it was an emotional, high and low with the barracuda, and then like, holy cow, over the top, we know what we've got.
And do y'all wear the headphones, with the mics, you can talk to each other from the bridge and down the...
No, sir. We're a charter boat, so we're kind of we don't have an Omni sonar. We don't have a lot of the nice stuff that the more private boats and the guys that do it for a living as far as tournament fishing. So everything was softly yelling, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Organized chaos, right?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
The mutilation on the fish, the quote unquote mutilation on the fish, it looked superficial to me. I mean, it looked to be about the size of a pancake and maybe a half-inch deep or something. I don't know. Just looking at the picture, I wasn't there, of course, but just looking at that.
Honestly,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Honestly, if you ball your fist up, your fist would cover the wound itself, and it was less than an inch deep. It was really superficial. We had several biologists look at it, and the big thing that they asked for rules were, has it been bitten and has it punctured the skin? And so, but as far as dealing with its ability to maneuver and fight. That didn't have anything to do with it. In addition to, if that fish encountered something during the fight, it was not on top of the water, and it was more than likely something that had, when it dove to go die, and it's 900 feet.
Wow.
The blood mixing it up at 3 inches to 6 inches a crank. And we tried that several times. We tried, circling into the current to float them up, and that's a technique that a lot of the older captains do. And so we ran out a whole bunch of line to kind of get him flat. And I mean, we went back and forth trying to get that fish up from the bottom. So
I imagine,
in my heart of hearts,
I know there's no way to tell, but I would imagine that it was probably a cuda, since y'all had already caught a cuda. Maybe there was a cuda in that area. Do you have any idea what it could have been, whether it would be a shark or a cuda?
Think about that. Well, I don't really know, and I've questioned the two biologists that we've had, review the fish, and they said actually it's a bit weird, because if you get a shark, in a feeding frenzy where they've realized something fresh and something that is in distress, they're not going to stop, and winching them up, inch by inch, kind of tuna style. That fish should have been a lot more mutilated, covering the amount of time that it was down there, and the speed that we were bringing it up at. So that's what kind of raises questions to me of, was it something before I actually caught the fish, or was it something that possibly happened, before the fish even, it may have been something that made the fish breach the way it did. Because most marlin, when they come up, they want to smack it with their bill. They don't crash on it that way. And, they'll normally bite it, tease it, play with it. But this fish, from left to right, fully breached, whole out of the water, and came down on that plug just like, kabloosh. The GoPro videos show, that. So to be honest, I don't feel like, given the mannerisms, the scenarios, and then the wound itself, it didn't have anything to do with our ability to fight 100% of that fish. If anything, it probably gave that fish some extra to try to get away.
I don't want to hog all the questions. Do any of you guys have any questions or comments?
Keep on roll. I'll piggyback on these questions, but there's one question I have, and I'll hold off till later on once you get into the subject here, as far as digging deeper with sharks and all this. But keep on rolling, JR.
Now, when you boated, because it was getting dark, right? It was 8:30, something around then.
Yes.
When you guys boated the fish. Did you see anything? Because I saw, one video, you guys were dancing. You're on the way back. Like, in your mind, you're like, I just won the Big Rock, right? I mean, you knew after you measured it and got the girth. Did you guys even notice that, or even did that cross anyone's mind? Or
I didn't. When we brought him in, I was the one that gaffed him. We gaffed him in the mouth, inside of his mouth, not even on the exterior of the fish. And I pulled him in and kind of set him down. And that's when Greg came out the bridge, and they wanted to start taking pictures. And all the pictures I've
You're breaking up, Ashley. But I'm going to stop you right there, Ashley. You said that you gaffed a fish and pulled him in and laid him down. You're a big fella, but I don't think you're hoist a 619-pound blue marlin over the gunnel, fella. Okay, he may have lost signal, guys. We'll give him a minute to come back in.
And Ashley is currently traveling back to North Carolina, right?
Yeah, he just left my great state of. There you go.
He'll come back.
South Carolina.
Yeah. Did you guys hear what he said? He said that he gaffed him, went
No,
in.
he went in his mouth.
He went in his mouth and gaffed him from the inside.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a 600+ pound blue marlin coming up, bill waving everywhere, and its mouth opened up, and you just throw a gaff inside of it? I mean, I couldn't imagine that.
Before he embarrassed himself because the fish was dead already.
Fish was dead, yeah.
Well, I don't care if the fish is dead or not. It's still got a giant bill that's waving around when you pull him up. You got to grab it. Somebody's got to grab that thing and pull it up onto the gunnel. Its bill is still going to be moving around, and you're going to still have to gaff that monster. And
yeah,
how do you get a 600+ pound fish over the gunnel of a sport fisher? I guess they got a tuna door.
not yet a tuna door. Yes, I'm gonna say not over the gunnel per se. They open the door and bring them into the door there.
And they probably got a chain fall on there, or winch or something, don't they?
Well, you got 6 or 8 guys in there.
Some of those boats, they hook a cable up to them and pull them up on there. I've seen them do it.
This ain't wicked tuna, man.
Well, so they're allowed to use a bill snooter rope. That's in the rules.
Yeah.
I don't know if they used one or not.
All right, this might be him. And that's extreme. Is he there? We got you back, Ashley.
I think so. So when you, sorry, you cut out there for a little bit, Ashley, but when you landed the fish, you said you gaffed it in the mouth and pulled it in, and you started taking pictures, and then we lost you, but you didn't have any pictures, I'm assuming, that showed anything at that point.
Yes. What's wrong with your show, man?
Oh, no, man. He's moving. I'm getting a signal.
Man,
Not doing it going to Chesapeake Bay.
can you guys hear us? You hear us now?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Ashley, can you hear us?
Hello.
This would be a
You may want to
3. Can you hear me now?
maybe try going back out and coming back in, Ashley, if you can hear us.
He said that the ponies are down by the Myrtle Beach. Yeah.
Nice.
The pogies are out in the ocean.
They're everywhere. They're just right off the beach.
They're everywhere.
Pogs. They're
Pogies
potted up
in the
there.
waterway and everywhere on the beach.
For everybody that's just tuning in, Ashley is actually on the road right now. He's driving back from South Carolina, so I think his signal, of course, is probably coming in and out is why we keep losing him. And the audio is kind of reverbing a little bit. So we'll give it a few minutes, see if we can get back
So before Ash comes back on, what do you guys what's y'all's game plan for tomorrow? What you doing?
I'm gonna go hit the ledge and troll for about an hour and a half. I'm gonna start about 160 foot of water and zigzag, maybe get out to about some 600 feet of water. If we don't do nothing, go back to the trusty bottom.
We're going to catch a blue marlin.
You a gaff in the mouth with that bill waving everywhere?
Daggum right, buddy.
on my 30 wide.
There you go.
Just heard what he used to catch it. Black Bart.
Yeah.
Horse ballyhoo.
Okay, we got his audio now.
There we go.
I can hear the truck on the road. So I think, can you hear us?
He said that he couldn't hear us.
West JR gone off their own show. How about that? I don't even know what.
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Oh,
All
perfect.
right.
Yeah,
Nice.
we hear you great.
Great.
I can hear you now.
Awesome.
All right.
So previously, before we had a cellular disconnect, I was asking, after you boated the fish, and I think you were talking about you were taking some pictures, but at that point, the only thing going through your mind is, hey, let's measure the fish, and what it is. I mean, you knew you had the winning fish, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I went up in the bridge once we got it aboard and started taking pictures of everybody. I wasn't even down below, and all the pictures that I've got, even with the tail still hanging out the boat, showed no signs of damage. And the guys did the measurements, and I was up there in the bridge pulling the riggers in and trying to get everything buttoned up and calling the fish in. And they actually put the blanket on them, a big fish bag, and we even used bag ice, so because we didn't want any threat of any ice going down his throat or anything being hearsay of that. We wet the towels down, wrapped them in towels on the top side, and put the bags of ice around him, and then buttoned him up with the fish bag, and even put a little noodle on his nose, kind of keep safety wise. Didn't want anybody to catch that in the dark. And then we headed on in. I mean, we were riding for about 3 hours.
Hey, Ashley, what was it like? And I like that video when y'all were actually coming in about a half mile before you got to Big Rock, and you could hear all the people hollering and screaming, and I think over half the crowd was drunk. Like I think close to 10,000 people or 10,000 plus people were there. People were out on their boats, out on the dock, and what was it like just seeing all that, and knowing that many people were rooting for y'all?
Man, it still gives me chills talking about it. The outcrying of the community and the way that they just embrace the down home charter boat, the fleet, and the crowd that I'm originally from New Bern, the crowd that came from New Bern about 45 minutes away, and then all the people that came from Greenville and everybody else, for that matter, that was listening and sitting there on baited hook, watching the live feed from the Big Rock and WIT and the news crews, and unreal. It was like winning the Stanley Cup and coming at home in the final period and having
triple
opportunity
overtime. We'll call it quadruple overtime.
What'd you do?
What's that?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, triple overtime. You're exactly right. And it's just you can't put that into words. No matter what happens about anything about the protest or whatever, that right there, they can never take away. And for my guys and our families and our fans, I say thank you for making it all possible.
Is that the biggest marlin you've ever caught, or is that the biggest fish you've ever boated?
Yes, sir. It sure is.
And to do it without omnidirectional, right? I mean, that's, you're out there competing with those boats with, they got 2 seakeepers on a 70-foot sport fish and a $250,000 sonar that they just press a button and go right up to the marlin and drop ballyhoo on it, whatever the live false albacore, whatever they do. I mean, it's just, you don't do that much anymore now. And it's kind of like when you go back to the Pelagic Hunter, the center console that won a few years ago, I think everybody was rooting for them. It's like the small town guys, and Jarrett Bay hole number 1. Like I think everyone was rooting for you. I personally was.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, it makes me mad, and it's got to leave a bitter taste in your mouth, knowing that because the rule is not black and white, and maybe after this year, maybe something good will come of it. Maybe they'll change Rule 23 or make it more clear.
And that's my whole basis for the protest. I have nothing bad to say about the 3 other competitors that fished and won first, second, and third. My biggest thing is I have the worst luck that if we don't go ahead and change this, and it's not something that's unrealistic. I've talked to the guys at IGFA, Zach over there, and all that stuff. The Big Rock is not a sanctioned IGFA tournament. And so they chose to adopt those rules in a manner that, to be able to pass off the burden of interpretation. The Big Rock's a big enough tournament now that they need to explicitly state exactly what their rules are and not read it, as IGFA rules apply, like which, rules, the tournament rules, the 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 rules that have to do with world records. I mean, they honestly, the biggest thing is that we're going to have, with no commercial fishing of sharks, it hasn't been done in the past 12 years. I would like the rules committee, I would like the board of directors to take this very serious and look at amending the rules to, one, remove the reference to the IGFA in dealing with mutilation and allow our fishermen the opportunity to bring those fish in. It's not like there's a competitive advantage. I mean, they're taking pounds off of the fish, not adding things to it, and be able to utilize those fish, for science and stuff versus discarding them overboard as being, just bycatch basically, because they're no good. There's no dollar amount because they can't be commercially harvested. There's the only use for these fish is game fish. It's for tournaments, and so to discard them would make us seem like we're bad stewards of our resource, and we don't want to be bad stewards. So that's the biggest thing that I would like to see out of this whole protest is the awareness that the sharks are more prevalent, and we're having more and more interactions with these, and it's not going to stop just with the sensation.
Yeah, so you answered basically the one question that I had. I'm an avid offshore guy. John's an avid offshore guy. JR's an avid offshore guy. Wes, he's getting into it. We'll say that. One thing that I have noticed over the years of doing it.
From a major.
Shit. So obviously, we're not there every day like you are out there. But one thing we've noticed in the last 6 years or so, that sharks are absolutely becoming an issue out there. There's absolutely more of them out there. We're losing a lot more fish sharks, whether it's king mackerel, tuna, wahoo, even bottom fish. So obviously this is going to be an issue that's going to keep on plaguing all tournaments in the coming years, just because there's no regulations.
Yes, sir.
There's strict regulations on sharks. You can't keep anything, and there's more of them out there to where you just can't get by them. Would you agree that there's exactly a lot more sharks out there?
110%. I mean, if anybody ever just spent a moment on a tuna boat, or talk to the people that are in the know, it's obvious. You hook into 10 tunas, you might get 3 to the boat, and that's wastefulness for everybody. The fisherman, the consumer. I mean, in our manner in dealing with the tournaments. I mean, it's just we have a commercial fishery.
I'm a firm believer that sharks right now kind of correlate an outboard or an inboard, the noise of an inboard, to free food. And I feel like when that engine's running, sharks are around. And I've been, I can't tell you how many times I was sitting idle on a bottom fishing spot, and all of a sudden I have 3 sharks show up behind the boat. Not cobia, sharks. So I feel like, these sharks now realize that the sound of a boat engine is a dinner bell. I don't know if you see the same thing.
Yes. Truer words have never been spoken.
Actually, JR just said something a few minutes ago. This is this whole thing with the tournament, when I started watching it, and I heard about all this, what I read was, and there again, then I was also told, and I've seen some other comments, there's probably been millions and millions of comments about this situation. But what I read on Rule 23 was, and I'm not wording this exactly perfect, but the whole rule states that mutilation rule applies in case, or if you have a potential world record fish. So I had asked somebody, I said, so if the Big Rock's using this rule, why aren't they going to go by that whole rule? Why are they just picking it? Somebody said, well, they've got the right to pick or nitpick the IGFA rules and IGFA allows. So I don't understand that. Could you explain how they're doing that or why they're doing that?
I really don't know why they're doing it. And that's why I asked for the protest, was so that I could get clarity to it. I mean, I'm a pretty agreeable guy. I'm not somebody that's asking for the moon, meanwhile realizing that I only got the budget. I can't even climb a tree. What I really want is clarity on this. And I hear everybody say rules are rules. You know, God bless them. You know, absolutely. That's really easy and cliche to say. But if you're put in the spot that I'm put in right now, you want clarity on the rules. And right now, we're about as clear as mud. And with this, that's what I'm asking for, is clarity on it. And hopefully we can all sit down as cooler heads and be able to put some good amendments to this, or amend the whole rule, because the rule is that they're referencing is for modification of weight. It's not talking about quality of fish. It's not talking about, in quality of fish, the fish's ability to maneuver. It's talking about maneuver, making reference of weight.
And it's not like it gave you an advantage. Like you didn't get an advantage from that superficial wound. Like nobody can convince me that you got an advantage from that.
And millions of people alike. That's exactly right. And so to see people interpret it as being, oh, well, it was a situation like playing golf, and you hit a golf ball out of bounds, and you knowingly reach over there and grab that ball and you put it back in bounds. You know, it's that clear cut. It's not. It's like hitting a 400-yard golf ball and then having an eagle fly down and steal your golf ball.
Yeah,
that's what it's like. I had no control over anything.
So one thing I want to add here as well, you know, about the whole shark thing and the marlin. You know, and a lot of guys try to explain this here a little bit. So if a fish is alive and it gets clipped by a shark, it's going to bleed out. Okay. In your case, the marlin was dead. It went down deep. You guys winched it from the depths of the ocean there. And at some point, the shark got a bite out of it. Now, so you guys drugged that fish in the boat. If it was a bite that affected the fish, you would have seen blood on the deck of the boat. With that fish being dead already, there was no blood to be dripping on the deck of the boat. So that's where, you know, that's where I don't agree with this whole entire thing, because the shark did not affect y'all's catch.
Yeah, big talk so much is not good.
I mean, you're exactly right.
And another thing too,
you're exactly
about
right, 100%.
You know, so you know, rules are rules, but yet, you know, there's rules and there's also common sense, and I feel like there needs to be a happy medium with all that.
And Ashley, I got a question. And there again, I'm not, you know, the top dog, and there again, you know, I don't know. All I'm going by what I've read, and of course, most of the time what we read on social media, which we know a lot of times is not all true. You can only believe just bits and pieces of it. But, you know, here's what I've heard. Top Dog's fish, they claim, you know, and there again, we're just being real here. It looked a whole lot worse than your fish does. I mean, it was, quote, a mutilated fish. But from my understanding, they said that all that happened to that fish after it was landed. But then they said, you know, I also heard some people say, well, they had video of it. Well, that video, from my understanding, was never surfaced. And whoever seen it, did anybody ever see that video showing that fish was in perfect shape before they started dragging that fish back in? I've heard two different stories on that.
I have not been privy to anything of that nature. And honestly, any of my references, the other examples that I have of fish being weighed in at the weigh station, been left on the leaderboard, been paid out on a daily. And that's, you know, wahoo, mahi, and tuna. I'm not referencing the top dog at all. Everybody else has grabbed that and run with it. But there are instances in the past 20 years where they have weighed fish and left them and not DQ'd them. You know, as far as the footage for the top dog, I can't speak to that. The captain that came in second, Rocky from the Wolverine, God bless him. I mean, he came out in favor of top dog winning, and I support. They know way more about that stuff than I do. But I am not using the analogy, and I have never used the analogy of top dog to compare to my fish. So that's other people, and I respect them and their opinion. But my argument deals with fish that go back. You can just go back in the past 20 years and look at dailies, and you can look. I mean, there's articles all about it. I mean, it's not difficult to find, and so that's where I'm really hoping that because of all these interactions, we can use this as a positive and realize once again, it's just going to be the same narrative over and over and over. It's like the definition of insanity. You keep putting in the same inputs, expecting a different output. Well, that's insane.
Yep.
Well, the thing that, I don't understand or don't agree with, and why it should be black and white is, they say follow, Rule 23, follow IGFA rules. But yet it's a boat tournament, right? So anyone can reel the fish in. IGFA, it's one angler. You fight the fish 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. So to me, it's like, hey, if we're only gonna pick some of the rules, but they need to be listed out.
Exactly.
And not just follow IGFA rules, because you're not really, and I'm not an attorney, but that, to me, that would be my arguing point. Like, hey, you guys are following certain rules, but other rules don't apply. It's a boat tournament. It's not a single angler, or, we're not going for world record.
And it's not a potential world record fish.
Yeah.
Right. The IGFA told me that they call it a jungle tournament or a rodeo tournament. And so by doing so, they really just do whatever they want to do. And it's unfortunate. And I agree. If they felt like that the rule was so impressionable to the tournament and as controversial as it's been over the past 20 years, then spend the extra printing cost and finish writing the rule out. And it definitely does not need to be under alterations of weight. It needs to be under a headline of mutilation.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And we had talked about that last week during the show. All of us here, we're big into striper fishing. I've fished striper tournaments, for $5,000, $10,000 that have a 6-7 page tournament book. But, I enter the Big Rock and it's 2 pages. And I'm like, how? You're competing for one of the largest purses on the East Coast, and your rule book is 2 pages. And they do the quick video.
Right.
Do these fish get injured from spawning at all?
That's a good question.
I know, because a blue catfish, if you catch that thing after the spawn, it's all tore up, man. Blue marlin, blue catfish, maybe there's some similarities there.
I see where you're going with that.
That brings a whole other dynamic to it.
Yeah.
Hey, if you wouldn't mind, could you take us back to when y'all backed up with the fish when you got there, and how the crowd was doing and kind of, what we were talking about? Yeah, about, they didn't want to weigh the fish. And I think one of the people from the Big Rock kind of pretty much said, at first they was that, like you said, they wouldn't gonna let you weigh the fish. And then the crowd kind of got into it. They thought there was going to be a riot. So they actually almost begged you or asked you to weigh the fish. Could you take us back to that and tell us how that played out?
Well, we backed in there, and the weighmaster, I mean, a lot of these guys I've gotten to know faces, and I don't remember names. I'm horrible at names. But they kind of came on the boat and inspected the fish and asked, the crew, what happened here? And I mean, we were just as starstruck as they were. And I don't know. And he was like, it looks like a shark. And I said, nobody on this boat has seen a shark this whole week, as far as visually put our eyes on a shark. So to say it's a shark bite, I can't tell you that's what it is. And then they kind of went over and huddled up underneath the tent and kind of, whispered to each other and came back and says, I don't think we're going to weigh this fish. And I just told them I didn't think that was going to be a good idea. And then some of the other people kind of overheard that, and the chant started, "Weigh that fish" and stuff like that. And it was, I mean, there was a lot of passion in that Big Rock landing that night. And so we went from being, hey, we just won the tournament, to, hey, now they won't even weigh our fish. Won't even.
That's got to be a bad feeling. I mean, if it would have been me, I'd already had the money spent. Like, I'm already
You're
thinking
in your
about
mind, right? Yeah.
I'm coming up, baby.
We lost you, Ashley. Now, you were saying you were at the point where you told them they might better weigh the fish.
Finally got a piece. I mean,
He may be trying to get us back on Bluetooth. We could hear him pretty well when he connected to his Bluetooth.
Womp, womp, womp.
And I had actually, while we're trying to get him back, I had left that night. And I was listening to it on my ride back, 4-hour ride back to Greensboro, and the stream was cutting out, and I was mad. I was like,
I was mad as hell too. Yeah.
I had to call someone that was down there. I still had people that fished with me. They were down there. I was like, man, what's going on? They're like, I got to call you back.
Crashing the server, huh? Yeah. We do not hear you, Ashley.
Maybe go out and come back in. So what would you do tomorrow, guys? Peter, John?
I would probably troll dead bait for mahi and kings for a couple hours and drop to the bottom for some bottom fish. This is the time of year right here where I don't really care to troll much at all. I'll just go straight bottom fishing and bring about 8-10 rods, and that's it.
Bottom fishing. That's the easy button.
It is. It's a tasty. We do not hear you, Ashley. If you hear us,
If you hear us, leave and
we do not hear you at all.
Exit and come back in if you can hear us.
We got mute. We got unmute.
Try now. Hello, hello. Yeah, we do not hear you.
What?
Yeah, go find a weed line tomorrow.
If there is any out there. Josh, I'm waiting for my invite, man. I'm still waiting. I'm dying to go, man. I'm really, really eager to give that try with you this summer sometime. I don't have very many July dates, but August might be a different story. Can you hear us now?
Edit mic settings. All right. What about now?
We can hear you, JR.
I can hear you now.
All right.
Oh,
Got
we
it.
got you. All right.
So anyway, Ashley said they said they weren't acting like they weren't going to weigh the fish, and the crowd started chanting, and then what?
Then they came to me and asked me to, if I would be interested in getting on the microphone and calming the crowd down if they put the fish up. And I was like, trust me, I'm the last guy you want to put on that microphone. I was like, you keep telling me you want to wait till tomorrow to make a decision, and kind of reminded me of the 2020 election about how Donald Trump had to wait till tomorrow to find out how screwed over he got the night before. I was like, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah. No.
So just so you know, I was laid up in a hotel room in Miami, I think it was. I was going to bed at like 9 o'clock, and then, said you guys boated the fish. I'm like, shit, I got to stay up, So what forced me to stay up even longer was I'm sure you know Marty Hyatt. Everyone knows Marty down the waterfront there. He had a little bet going on as he put $5 in. Whoever guesses closest weight wins all the cash. So a lot of guys were bombarding him with $5 Venmos and and guesses and everything. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put in for it. So I put in $10 and guessed the weight and everything. So I was forced to stay up for that. Now, mind you, I was not even close, but it added a new dynamic to the whole entire thing. So when they came in there, not wanting to weigh the fish, I was mad. Like 100 some odd people were mad as hell too, because they were waiting for that final weight too.
Well, and
so 4 o'clock rolled in way too early after waiting until, was it midnight, 12:30, I guess what it was, to get the weight finally, I think, on that fish. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, I think everyone was thinking it was a 900 pounder. They hear, okay, well, they're hooked up at 2:30 and they boated at 8:30, and obviously no one knows what's going on, so they're thinking. And you talk to some guys, they're like, man, some of these fish doesn't 400, 500 pounds. Some of them can fight 6 hours, 7 hours. But usually when you think that long a fight, you're thinking that's a big marlin. That's a tournament one.
Just so you know, I guessed 777. That was my guess. Lucky sevens. Didn't even come close.
Hey, Ashley, how long do you think y'all actually fought the fish before it just kind of gave up and y'all went to dead weight and it started dropping? Do you remember how long that fight was?
I'd say between about 2 hours. I mean, the rest of it was the rod was bent, doubled over off the stern. We basically, when we switched anglers, the chair broke. So then we picked it up and took it to the gunnel and basically hand lined it, kind of wicked tuna style, cranking it. And it never ran. It never, there was no more motion at that point. It was just doubled over the side and winch it up and try to get a couple runs that we did to try to get it into the current to float it up. But we started noticing some nicks in the lines, and so we didn't want to tempt fate and pop the line. So we just decided to stay on what we were doing and winch it up, and that's what we did.
Come on here, Dieter. Ask him yourself. Dieter asked, he said, I may have missed earlier, but was the fish dead when they boated it?
Yes, sir. 100%.
And how deep did y'all said y'all was 900 feet?
900 feet was what we were marking on basically 150 fathoms was what we were marking on our depth finder as far as seeing the fish.
Now, did you, and you don't have to give me GPS coordinates, but did you go towards Hatteras like 80% of everyone else, or did you guys go south?
No, the Friday we went way south. I mean, we were just about as far south as you could go, and about as far. And we were in 300 to 500 fathoms of water down that way, and we found some really pretty water. We found some real pretty grass lines. So we were kind of taking the calculations based off of the drift and the tide and everything, that we were just going to go right straight out. And we went straight out past the Big Rock on out to about 300 to 350 fathoms, and drove from there kind of upstream, and then turned around, came back downstream, and then by the time we got back downstream, we headed straight back out, and that's when we hooked up.
Now, why do they call it the Big Rock? Is there a big old rock out there?
There is an area. It's more of like a ledge than it is a rock, and so they've just always called it the Big Rock.
And we fished that area Saturday, and what I thought was crazy, obviously we were in a center console, and it was rough for us to, I took a shower to get dry every night, but Saturday it was like at 12:30, the wind died, and it was almost like flat out there, and we were kind of fishing that same area a little bit past Big Rock, and it was rough. We saw honestly, I think we saw the biggest wave Saturday morning on the way out, and the periods were a little bit longer than it was previous days, but it was like it died, and coming back in, I don't know, assuming you guys probably experienced some of the same weather.
Yeah, when it laid out, I mean, we still had some pretty good swell coming through when we were hooked up, but by the time it got to the point of winching him up, I was having the guys run back and forth on the boat to try to rock the boat to give me a little bit of edge to, straighten the rod out, and we couldn't buy a swell at that time.
Yeah. So what tackle were you using? What rod and what reel?
I was using a custom 80 rod, and had a 80 wide Shimano Tiagra. And I mean, we had a plug on it. That's about it. I mean, it's just about as simple. I mean,
And you were pulling ballyhoo. It didn't come up in a teaser. Or...
Like how
no,
fast
we
you going out
actually,
there? Like 10 knots?
actually at that point, we didn't even have any naked ballyhoo out at all. Everything we were pulling was just plugs. So, what was the other thing you had asked? It kind of went in and out.
How fast were you trolling? Like 10, 12 knots?
With the current about 12 knots, against the current about 7. So, I mean, we were actually in the process of kind of going perpendicular to the current, headed off. And if you look on my Facebook, my wife actually posted the whole cookies for the whole day. You know, so that, well, my daughter posted them. She wants a little credit there.
Credit.
But I had my inReach on, and I had my wife and friends, you know, linked up so they could follow us the whole day and stuff. And I mean, we had basically given up the tournament, you know, at 2:08. I had sent my wife a text message after the Barracuda. I was like, the weather's great, but fishing sucks. And then that's when it happened.
Go figure. So help me win a bet here. I guess we were talking about this last week or a couple days ago, whatever it was. Is there a wind direction that fires off the marlin bite better than another? My vote is northeast. I've always heard northeast really gets them going.
Honestly, I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently. So I'll probably say the wrong thing, and you'll have a lot of your followers say, "Oh, well, he's an idiot." So I'm gonna defer to.
So go out there when you can. Got it. Check.
That's right. You won't catch them sitting at the dock.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Now, I talked to some other people that were in the tournament, and maybe you can give me your take on this. You know, they said that they hated the Fabulous Fisherman because it forces boats to fish days they typically wouldn't fish. What's your take on the first boated marlin over 500 pounds?
I think that I like the Fabulous Fisherman myself. It adds a different dynamic. It does push people to go fish in sloppier water, and I'm a competitive person. I'm a fan of it. For the center consoles and stuff like that, yeah, it's probably not a category you want to enter. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with all the categories myself. I'm glad they gave us a non-sonar category.
Yeah, that stuff's just that's. Well, I guess you had already purchased one in your mind on the way back, right?
No, I'm not really a big fan of it. I was really pumped because I had 24 shareholders that had bought in, that being 4 days of fishing, 6 people being on a charter, 24 shares. I was living vicariously through them, and I mean, 70% of the money went to them, 10% went to my captain, 10% went to mate, and 10% came to me. So for me, it was just a team effort. And a little Scooter, he had already spent his money in his mind. He had already bought his grandparents' trailer park, and Greg, he had a few, you know, he had a few ideas on what he was going to do. But for me, it was just, you know, more so being in awe. And my dad told me all the time, you know, don't count money until it's in the bank. So.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that too. I met one of your mates. I believe his name's Darren Cox Wednesday night,
yeah.
And we were talking about going out, you know, it being rough. And he's like, "God bless you in a center console tomorrow, Thursday." And I think 12 boats fished. We were not one of them, but he went out to the boat and he was like, "Use this, go catch a 2-pound peanut and go win you $2,000." And obviously, you know, I think someone did that day, but it was not us. But I mean, just down to earth. I haven't personally met you, but I did meet some of your crew that night, and just down to earth people. I mean, I was rooting for you when I heard Sensation, and I think everyone in Moorhead was too. So,
well, I just can't thank you all personally enough for being willing to be part of this story and caring enough to cheer for us and stay up late. And, you know, it all plays into it for me emotionally, because a lot of times it's one of those things that you don't hear this Cinderella story. I mean, when I was on the Meat Eaters podcast yesterday. They were like, well, Netflix is probably going to pick this up. And I'm like, well, John Candy and what's his name? Chris Farley are no longer around, so we don't have anybody to play me. But it's just, it means a lot to me. And to be part of a story that so many people has touched so many lives, it's amazing.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on with us tonight.
Yeah. Appreciate
it's
it.
an honor, and I wish I had been able to get on last night, but I was stuck in the Denver airport and didn't get home to Greenville till 4:30 this morning.
Well, Pete's a pilot, so you can throw all your blame to him.
Denver has been a disaster all month long, so I feel for you there. I get it. Been there, done that.
One last question for you.
Yeah.
Your next
trip. We'll let these guys, Wes, if he has anything else before we let him go.
So actually, what's your plans now as far as like how many more interviews you got? I'm sure you're. I know you said you come to South Carolina today. What did you come to my great state for?
Well, my daughter, I haven't been able to spend a lot of time with her here lately with everything that's been going on. But and she loves sport fishing herself and is looking so forward to the kids' Big Rock. And she said that she wanted some fireworks, and I kind of made her a promise I was going to make it down there. So we took care of everything that we needed to, and then we hauled Boogie to the state line to go pick up fireworks. So we'd have some 4th of July.
We got lots of fireworks.
There you go.
A whole trunk load. Hey, where's the party at?
Yes, there's just a few back here.
Some firecrackers, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you when I messaged you that night, and told you how I was, and actually, I knew you were busy. You just returned my call when you got a second. I wasn't expecting it to be that night, because I'd seen that post where that you put on Facebook with the shot glass and the bottle. And I was like, shit, I hit him. I said, I hit him at a good time. But, listen, there again, I really appreciate you taking the time, come on here. And, I thought I'd been a big shot. I'm telling everybody, some people didn't even believe me that I was going, that we was going to have you on the show tonight. So, but it's really an honor to have you here. And you got a lot of people rooting for you.
I'm sure you
Thank
learned
you very
by now
much.
that Wes is very persistent.
My final question is, what's the next event?
Well, we're planning on being in the Ducks Unlimited. We put it on Facebook that we were open for a charter for the Ducks Unlimited, and within an hour we had a full team put together. Pirates Cove, we're planning on going up there and doing well, and so we've got a ladies group already put together for it, and we're still about four guys from having a complete group at Pirates Cove. But we just want to finish up the year strong and enjoy working with charters in the meantime, and bending rods and putting smiles on faces. That's what this is all about to me and my crew. So that's what we're focusing on now. I've since I took Greg to Idaho with me and Bailey to being the angler and kind of was away from the boat. Now now it's back to real life. It's time to get back to do what we do best, and that's going fishing.
Now, if you do fish the Big Rock next year, you got my spot, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Thanks everybody for coming by. Thank you, Ashley, and we'll see you on the water and have a safe travel, safe trip.
Yes,
Happy
sir.
4th of July.
If I can help you on any way, just give me a shout.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Good night,
Take
guys.
care.
Good night.
That's it.